What social media platform do you use the most, and how do you approach them?
This is a nice question. So I asked this question like a while ago on Facebook, on my personal Facebook page, because I like to ask questions. And a lot of people, they had several accounts, but only used one. Mostly, of course, posted it on Facebook, so people only on Facebook responded to it. The social media platforms that I use are Facebook, my personal account, Facebook page, LinkedIn, Twitter, Medium, podcasting, TikTok, and Instagram. So those are my social media platforms, and I can't say that. Oh yeah, I can say. I don't use LinkedIn as much as often as I want to, even though it's a big platform. It's an emerging platform, even though it's been there for years. But it is, in terms of usage, it's emerging. Facebook, of course, that's basically where everyone lives. I always compare Facebook to like the coffee machine at your office. I just go to Facebook, check what's good, what's going on, and I chuck in a couple of questions here and there, or my opinion on something, and that's how I use Facebook. Same thing with Twitter. But Twitter is like global. It's like a global water cooler. You can go into any type of conversation and bring in your 2 cents, and so that's mostly why I use Twitter. I'm my own traffic cop when it comes to information flow. So meaning that I follow a number of people or number of institutions or companies or whatever, just to stay on top of things. It was especially very helpful in negotiations, for example, for COP21. People were on Twitter during the Paris Agreement negotiations, and I was following everything. So like, just a meeting over here, this meeting over there. It was even quicker than the CCTV screens at COP31 when they were announcing meetings. Like, I knew that things were happening like 30 minutes before they were actually on CCTV or that the general public knew. So it gave me, and by extension, the Indigenous Peoples Caucus, especially when it came to negotiations on the Paris Agreement, a 30-minute advantage on stuff. But it also gave us a way to get messages out there that, for example, that Indigenous peoples and the rights of Indigenous peoples needed to be part of the Paris Agreement in the operative text. So that's what we send out as well on Twitter. Instagram is, I use Instagram mostly to post memes, photos, short clips about the work that we do, or some quotes, those things. It's more visual. So I refrain from putting like one photo and then a big blog post as a comment or as a caption on Instagram. I don't think Instagram is made for that. It's more like visual, and people scroll and double tap something that they like. TikTok is fun. Like, it is not just for 15-year-olds. 35-year-olds are on it. 55-year-olds are on it. It is a very, very fun way of making videos. It is emerging, and I like to use it to make fun videos on what I've experienced or what I would like to share on rights of Indigenous peoples. So it basically is something that I like to explore more on TikTok. Like, you make a video that is in sync with some sounds that are viral, and that's a fun way of making videos that not only visualizes the work or something that Indigenous peoples want to create awareness of, but it also it also can influence non-Indigenous peoples, right? They see those videos, and if it's creative, if it's fun, then it'll be liked by a lot of people, So it's a fun way of doing it. And personally, I don't do it for the likes, because I don't get married to the likes, because I'm like, you know what, I like to do it. I started doing TikTok while everyone was like, why? You go to the UN, you do things, you negotiate with ambassadors, heads of governments, and lead negotiators, and then you go on TikTok. I'm like, so I threw all those judgments aside. I'm like, you know what? This is a fun way of doing things, and this way, maybe a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old sees my video and then thinks differently about Indigenous peoples, or asks questions about Indigenous peoples, or challenges the status quo, things like that. That's what I like to do. Same thing with the questions that I post on Facebook. People ask, well, you ask a question, but sometimes you only get 1 or 2 responses. I'm like, that's fine, look, it's but then they'll continue with, well, is it then useless, or is the question not interesting enough? I'm like, the fact, hold on now, I asked a question. If people are reading it, because they're scrolling it, right? So they have to curate what they want to spend their 3 seconds on. And if it's a short question, I ask that question, and they decide not to answer it, that's fine by me. But they read the question. So at some point, maybe at that exact moment, or maybe a couple of minutes after, or a day after, they think back to that question and they answer it for themselves. So in a way, I'm good. I'm cool with not getting any likes and everything else. I'm just putting things out there that I like to put out there. Medium is something that I started to explore as well. Trying to transcribe a little bit about my podcasts for people that are not listeners but readers. So I put it on Medium. And of course, the biggest thing is a podcast. I try to upload as much as possible on a podcast, because for me, I listen. This is also a little bit self-awareness that I'm starting to feel comfortable in front of the camera, but I really wanted to get things out there that people understood what these peoples are doing at the UN, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, what we're doing. So I started off with a podcast. I wanted to do the long form thing, not just the 5-minute sound bites or 15-minute conversations, but context. I think context is very important. So I think stuff like podcasts are really good for that. So yeah, that's podcast, Medium, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. So yeah, those are the social media platforms I use, and I'm just a one-man show, so I can't do 25 posts a day on every single platform. Like I don't have the means or the infrastructure to use the algorithms of those particular platforms. But I just chuck things out there that I like to chuck out there, in terms of memes, in terms of quotes, in terms of questions, in terms of thoughts, things like that. It's I started looking at, for example, Instagram not as a museum. Like the people curate what they put on Instagram. And I'm like, I used to do that, but at some point, I'm like, you know what? Like, this is not me. So let's just put out things out there that I can really stand behind. And it doesn't have to be perfect.